Next, let's cover the outline and objectives of the course. First, we're going to do the introduction. Actually, we're already doing the introduction, so check, that's done. Next up is Docker Desktop and Visual Studio Code. In this section, we're going to understand exactly what we need to do to install on our machines, which is Mac, Windows, Linux, doesn't matter which operating system because they all run Docker, as well as Visual Studio Code runs on all three of these platforms. Next up, once we have Docker and Visual Studio Code installed, we can install and configure Visual Studio Code with the Docker extension. So this is really where we start seeing the power of the Docker extension. Next up, we're going to go into Power User Mode. Power User Mode is going to enable you to really bootstrap new projects, write Docker files with autocomplete, and really understand where all the power within this Docker extension comes from. And we're going to take this a step further. We're going to bootstrap some projects together in some of the labs. Next up is develop inside a container using remote containers. This is a relatively new extension and allows you to actually connect to a container as it's running, as if you're running outside of the machine. It's very much like Inception. You don't know which part of reality you are in, but your Visual Studio Code attaches to the container as is if you're inside the container. So you bring all your tools inside. You can then save all these configurations and share it with all your colleagues, which is great. And finally, we're going to recap everything we learned in the course. Now, the objectives of this course. What do we want to take away? And it's very important. And I want to make sure I communicate this as much as possible is I want to improve your Docker workflow. I want to make your job easier. And much like developers, we're like water. We like the easiest path, right? So fluid. And that's where we're going to improve your workflow. And I'm going to show you some great tricks on how to bootstrap projects where the bootstrapping actually creates all these files for you automatically. And it's really great. Next up is bootstrapping new projects. As I mentioned, we're going to learn how to bootstrap a project from zero, just your application, and it's going to write Docker Compose file, Docker files, debug files. It's going to build all these things into it for you. We're also going to discover some some hidden features within the Docker extension. They are there, they are documented, but very little people talk about it. And they're very powerful. So how do we use it within the UI? How to use it through the command line is great tools. And finally, we're going to understand the Docker extension to its fullest. We're going to see how it interacts with remote servers, local servers, how we can use it through the UI. And then next, and finally, we're going to understand Power User Mode. Power User Mode is where we actually see the benefit of our workflow, save time, and become the hero within our organization, because that's where you really start showing your colleagues, look what I learned. Look at this. Did you know about that? And that's really where it gets really fun. So join me as we head into the next section and start talking about Docker and Visual Studio Code.